As you can all see, it is 4:30 in the morning. May has already gone to bed, but I'm still racing and tracing and plotting the course. I'm rendering a tier list, and I was working on a script, but I finished the first part of it, and I felt like starting the second part would be an endeavor that's bigger than the amount of time that I want to be up. So, what better way to talk myself to sleep than another tier list? Because people don't stop sending them to me. Every time somebody sends me one on Twitter, I hit like so I can archive it for myself. And people are sending them to me on Discord as well, in my Patreon Discord. And I can't not do them. I get too excited at the mere thought of each one, and I have to do it. So here we go. This one is the top 60 games on Metacritic tier list maker. I don't know why 60. Seems arbitrary. Platform neutral, remasters the games already on the list are omitted. So, just 5 tiers. That should probably be good enough. I'm sure there's a lot of these I haven't played. So, let's get to it. Tony Hawk 3. Probably the best of the Tony Hawk games, which are good. I haven't played them personally in a long time. I watched Jesse play them on the Blue Glow, and it was a great time. I'd probably put it in high. I know it's a good game. I haven't played any Perfect Dark. Metroid Prime is God tier, one of my favorite video games. Took me a long time to finally fully get into it. I've been sitting on a 16-minute analysis video of this game for a while because I don't really want to edit it, but I hope to put it out before too long. Grand Theft Auto 3 I have not played. Never has appealed to me. The Grand Theft Auto series just doesn't appeal to me at all. Just nothing about it is my kind of game, really. Super Mario Odyssey, similarly, doesn't appeal to me. I tried playing a demo in the store, and I don't know, maybe if I spent a lot of time with it, maybe if I really sat down and got into the bones of it, I would develop a fondness for it, but something about the openness of it, just, I don't know. It's not my type of game, but I do love me some fucking Halo 1. Ooh, I think I'd put this in high tier. I can't quite put it in God tier because, you know, it's just a game. I mostly have fun with Halo when I play the campaign mode multiplayer, you know, on higher difficulties. Like, it's a fun couch co-op game. It's the kind, actually, maybe it does belong in God tier. I don't know. I feel like it's too uneven. I feel like all of the Halo games have really legendary levels and then levels that are just okay, you know, so it's hard for me to put it at God tier. Haven't played whatever I actually have played NFL 2K2, I think, on the Dreamcast, because my cousin had a Dreamcast, and it's like the only sports game I have ever played. So if I'm going to count this for that, I would probably actually put it at mid-tier, because I do remember having fun with it. But yeah, let's just go ahead and use that as a representative of 2K2 as well, because I'm sure they're pretty much the same. Half-Life 2, I am not a fan of. I have not completed the game, but what I played through of it, to me, it struck me as very gimmicky. Lots of just trying to show off like what the engine can do, which was no longer impressive by the time I actually went to play it. I hate the way cutscenes are done in the game, where you have to just kind of sit there and watch people talk back and forth and lose your mind, because it's not an interesting scene to watch, and so you keep trying to run around and try to make it interesting, but you can't, because you're very limited in your movement, and then it's like, why is the game letting me act like this, and people aren't even reacting? Yeah, you know, it's just annoying. I don't like it. BioShock I have not played. I think I don't know, I'd be interested in giving it a play. I've heard a lot of good things, seen a lot of analysis of it. It seems pretty cool. GoldenEye 007. I didn't play much of this at the time, and you know, it sort of infamously has not aged well because of the aiming systems. I think I played some of it with Jesse at his place and just was not feeling it at all. I'd be interested in playing it on PC with keyboard and mouse controls that you can mod into it, just to see how the actual game design holds up in spite of the controls. but we're just going to mark it as haven't played. Ocarina of Time, I would put in God tier, one of my favorite games. I've talked about it extensively, I'm sure. Uncharted 2, I'm going to put in mid tier, and I loved the first Uncharted. I played it on every difficulty. It's one of the only games, I think it is the only game I've ever 100% completed, because, I mean, it wasn't that hard to do. But Uncharted 2, I think because of the greater fixation on story and set pieces, which were not necessarily my favorite parts of Uncharted 1, even though it's what Uncharted ostensibly does best, I just am inherently less interested in set pieces as a part of video games. And so it just didn't do as much for me as the first game had done. And even the first game, you know, returning to it, I don't think it holds up that well as compared to how I felt about it at the time. But, you know, I have a soft spot for the Uncharted games at the very least. Resident Evil 4, definitely high tier. I would put it in God tier, but I do think that it is uneven. I think the early part of the game is by far the best. The game is long as hell, and not all of it is necessarily fun, but it's a good time. I wrote a long-ass blog post about it way back. If you go onto my blog, myswordisunbelievablydull.wordpress.com. It's been inactive for years now because I lost the password to it. But yeah, Resident Evil 4. I wrote a thing about it, like an in-depth analysis, sort of, or review at least, after I beat the game. Batman Arkham City. I have not played Arkham City. I did play Arkham Knight, the first one, and I did not enjoy it at all. I really didn't get anything out of it, so I can't see myself getting anything out of this one either, but we'll mark it as haven't played. I have not played Tekken 3. I've played Tekken 4 a lot, but not Tekken 3, so I don't know how they compare. Mass Effect 2, one of my favorite games. I would put it in God tier. It's my favorite of the Mass Effect trilogy. You know, I generally enjoy cover shooters because they're easy, and I love the story in Mass Effect, especially the second game where it's more character driven, where it's a little bit more pulpy and, you know, just seedy than the first game. You know, it takes because I think the first game, it's a really great sci-fi story, and I love the world, and I love, you know, all the lore. And I do agree with the common consensus that the story, like the overarching story of the first game, is probably the best one. But, like, the tone of the series is very Star Trek, but I don't think it does Star Trek as well as Star Trek does. With Mass Effect 2 going in that darker, seedier direction, I think it did that tone better than it did the tone of the first game, if that makes sense. Alright, Twilight Princess. I've played, like, 10 plus, maybe 12 hours of this game. I cannot get into it. I've tried like 4 times. There's so much shit that bothers me about this game. There's so much time wasting. There's so much fucking boring ass cutscenes that go on fucking forever. Just the constant wrestling control away from you to show you bullshit. The constant backtracking for no fucking reason just to make the game feel longer than it is. I honestly kind of hate this game, and I hate to say that because I love Zelda. I love most of the Zelda games. This is like my least favorite Zelda game that I've played. I haven't played Skyward Sword, but you know, I think I'd have to put this in. I don't know if I could put it in shit tier, but I mean, at the same time, you have to understand that this is a ranking of the top 60 games. So in comparison to like what it should be to be on this list, I would consider it shit tier. Like, I'm not saying that it is a shit tier game in comparison to all games, but in comparison to the top 60 games. Oh, you know what? I'm going to have to put it at low because Skyrim's coming up next. I don't think I hate it as much as I hate Skyrim. This game, and I'll be honest, like, when I played Skyrim, when I hated the opening bit, I made it to Whiterun, and I had a lot of fun there, just like observing everything that was going on, just like watching all the characters' routines, learning what all of them were doing, like what was the story of this town. I like that element, but the second I left Whiterun, I was completely bored. Just had no real sense of direction. The first place I went was just like some castle full of guys. I went in, killed all the guys, and then it was just full of bullshit loot that was boring, and I was like, wow, the actual gameplay sucks in this game. And so, yeah, I immediately gave up on it after that. Have not played the original Half-Life. I would like to. Wind Waker, I would put at God tier. My second favorite Zelda, probably after Ocarina of Time. I think it by all rights should have been the best Zelda game. I think the biggest weakness it has is that there's too many repetitive side islands. Too many of them just are not that interesting. I think, and I played the HD collection version of this game, or not collection, but the HD remake, and I really wish that they had maybe just made it like even more of a remake, just added more islands or redesigned some of them, just made it a more, because this game is like the best concept ever, and it's executed extremely well, but I think just with like the limited capacity of the GameCube, as well as the limited amount of time that they could even spend on the game, it comes up short of its potential. Whereas I look at a game like Breath of the Wild, which I haven't even played, and I don't even think I like the style of it as much as Wind Waker, but I see how it capitalized on its potential, like, almost to the fullest. Although that game also has issues that people have pointed out, but, I just wish that we could get like Wind Waker 2, I have not played Gran Turismo. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 is definitely the worst Tony Hawk of the original 4. Like, before it went completely to shit. This game is just, I know it added a lot mechanically, but it doesn't have the tightness of structure that the first game had. The levels are not nearly as interesting. The soundtrack is by far the worst, because it only has like 5 songs, and they're all like just shitty nu metal songs. I would personally put it in shit tier. It's not a game I'd return to when I've got Tony Hawk 1 and 3. Metal Gear Solid 2, I have not played more than... I haven't played enough of it. Not nearly enough. In fact, no, I'm thinking of Metal Gear Solid 1 that I even have played. I have not even played Metal Gear Solid 2 except for the demo that came with Zone of the Enders. So I'm going to put that in haven't played. Baldur's Gate 2 I have not played. GTA, again, no interest. Little Big Planet, I would put it mid-tier. I really wanted that game to be incredible. Like, the biggest problem with it is that, yes, you can build all kinds of incredible things in that game. However, the controls and the user interface for building shit is unwieldy. It sucks. Like, it is... I hate trying to make anything in that game. I hate I don't even really like the aesthetic of the game that much, but just, like, moving things around, it's so unintuitive. And, like, I had already played a hell of a lot of RPG Maker, when I was younger, and, like, RPG Maker is so... You just drag and drop things and it all makes sense. You got a mouse that you can play it with. It's like... I would rather go play that, than fuck around in Little Big Planet, especially when there's, like, size limits. There's a lot of limitations on what you really can do. It was fun for a little while when there was, like, a lot of crazy fan-created levels, and you could see, like, just how, adventurous people had gotten with it, but it just wasn't for me. And the platforming, the controls are just kind of floaty, and... I don't know. I don't find it that fun. Red Dead Redemption, I am going to mark it as haven't played. Even though, well, I don't know. I marked Skyrim as shit, and I've only played like a few hours of that. And I tried to play Red Dead, and I fucking hate the controls in this game. I fucking hate just the way, I hate the game feel. I hate the mere conceit of it. Like, I don't like open world games. I don't like games that involve wasting a whole fuckload of your time between doing things. Like, I don't really enjoy games. And it's funny I'm saying this because I ranked the Wind Waker so highly, but the Wind Waker is not really that big. It's a very finite amount of exploration, and all of it has immediate function towards your quest, Like, you can 100% that game in, like, 30 hours, It's not there to burn as much of your time as possible. And I also thought the cutscenes are fucking corny. The dialogue is shit. It all reads like some fucking hackneyed South Park wannabe. I don't care for it. Gran Turismo 3 I have not played. Halo 2 I would put in the high tier alongside Halo 1. It adds a lot of great things. The multiplayer is legendary. Spent a lot of time in that with my brother. with both my brothers really, and I don't think the campaign is as tight as Halo 1. So like they're kind of they each have strengths and weaknesses. Ooh, Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, but the Game Boy Advance version. Interesting choice to not use the original. I would put it in high tier. I enjoyed The Link to the Past quite a bit. It's not my favorite Zelda, but it's definitely a fucking fantastic one. Majora's Mask, I am still not that far into. Like I've been holding off on playing this game for a long time because I was kind of afraid. Because I want 100% it. I want to get fully engrossed. I want to do everything, and I know that is a time and attention intensive prospect. But like, I also I tried to play this game on emulators before, and it just didn't quite run right. When I finally got, because I now emulate GameCube games on the Wii. And so I emulated the Zelda Master Collection on the Wii, and that's how I'm finally playing it, and it's finally fully functional. So I will report back to you, but I expect to enjoy this game from, everything I know about it. Don't care about Grand Theft Auto. The Last of Us, I would put in mid-tier. I had a good time with it, more or less, with the combat. Again, I like over-the-shoulder shooters because they're easy. This game was really hilarious because I played it on hard mode, and I most of the time would just run up to people and punch them to death, because the game is so fucking simple. The story, the cutscenes and stuff could be entertaining. The characterization is fine. I think it's blown way the fuck out of proportion how good this game is. And the thing is, the game and story are totally in conflict with each other because the story expects you to take it completely seriously, and then the gameplay is nonsense. Like it's got a lot of just programming issues. Like, the fact that your AI can just run around through levels in front of clickers and stuff, that takes you right out of the fucking experience. Just the fact that the AI is so stupid, stuff like that takes me out. It also is uneven in difficulty because, I was just coasting through the game up until, right after you have the part where you play as Ellie. And then suddenly it was way harder, and that pissed me off. But you can change the difficulty on the fly, so it wasn't that big a deal. But I don't know. I thought it was a good game, but not nearly as good as people made it out to be. Madden, I have not played. Portal 2, I've never played the single player campaign on this. I've only played the multiplayer mode, but it was quite fun. It was a great way to spend an afternoon. I think it deserves to be in the high tier. One day I'll probably get around to playing the single player. Metal Gear Solid 5 I have not played. World of Goo I might have tried to play once. I don't know. Not going to mark it. BioShock Infinite I would put in low tier. I have a lot of problems with this game. I think Matthew Matosis' video pretty much summed them all up. That was one of the most gratifying videos I have ever fucking seen because it explained things in a way I wasn't capable of. And it's another game that I thought was piss easy. Every single fight I would just kind of stand at the entrance and kill everybody unless it was one of the Skyhook levels, which are fine, but there's 3 of them. I just thought the story was pretentious bullshit. Final Fantasy IX, I love, still have never beaten it. I was replaying it somewhat recently, and I fucked up by getting too into the stupid fucking card game, because I was trying to, master it before I realized that it is nigh impossible. It is designed to be extremely hard and waste as much of your fucking time as possible, and that kind of soured me towards playing the game. But I do like it a lot. Not as much as Final Fantasy X, because I do think that the story is better in that game. But I still think the story in this game is fantastic, and I love the aesthetic, and I love the designs of the towns in particular. Just a lot of good things about it. Modern Warfare 2. Ooh, I think I might have played a little bit of this on multiplayer mode. I definitely didn't play the campaign. I'm going to put it in low tier because, as a game to play with my friends, a first-person shooter to hang out and play, it's nowhere near as good as Halo. So, it just kind of was, fun for an afternoon, and then I didn't want anything to do with it. I have not played New God of War because it looks really fucking boring. I'd be willing to give it a shot because there are things that look cool about it, but for the most part, it just seems like a type of game I wouldn't enjoy. Tony Hawk 4. This one is not as good as 3. It started introducing the open world elements. I also didn't spend as much time with this one. I did watch Jesse on the Blue Glow once again play it, not to completion like I did the other games, but I think it probably deserves like mid. You know, it's fine. Soul Calibur 1. I haven't really played much Soul Calibur 1. I played a ton of 2. I've played a ton of 4 and 6. Well, not that much of 6, but I've played some of 5, 6, and 3, but I have not played 1. So if any other Soul Calibur was on this list, I'd be able to place it, but yeah, I'll just put it in haven't played. But if it was Soul Calibur 2, I would put it in high tier. Devil May Cry 1, I would put in high tier. Very fucking fun game. Very short, blistering. Just, you know, feel like a badass, look like a badass. And, yeah, I like it a lot. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1. This one I did play some of the story mode. Hated it. Played a bunch of multiplayer. It was fine. I mean, it's the same thing as Modern Warfare 2. There's no real meaningful difference to me. Okay, so this is weird. This is, I think, Ocarina of Time 3D. So, even though it said remasters of games already on the list are omitted, Ocarina of Time 3D seems to have made it on anyways. I do not like the 3D version as much as the original. I tried to play it. I couldn't really get into it. I know it's intended to be played with the 3D on, and it looks a lot better that way, but 3D makes my eyes bleed. Like, I don't know why. It just really hurts my eyes. So, you know, I just found this to be an inferior experience, even though they made a lot of great changes to the game that ought to have helped. I just didn't think it worked as well as a handheld. I enjoyed it. I made a whole video about this, comparing the two games way the fuck back. So, I'm going to put it in mid-tier. It's not like it's bad, but, you know. Chrono Cross, I haven't played enough of to really score it. I played a few hours of this, and I watched Tom play a few hours on the I Am Games live streams, but I didn't have enough of a sense of it to give it a score, so I'm going to put it in haven't played. Gears of War 1. Man, this was my shit. I played this a lot on Xbox Live. Like, that was like the only period I really had Xbox Live was to play Gears of War and Halo 3. And I had, you know, played through the campaign several times, especially with friends. It was a great co-op experience, but it has not aged well. The controls feel really clunky when you go back to it. It's very, like, I don't want to say glitchy, but, like, laggy, you know? I don't know. It just has a... And also the aesthetic, like, it was mind-blowing to me at the time because there was just so much detail packed on screen, but it just looks like a brown fucking turd at this point. So I think I'm going to put it in mid-tier. You know, it would have been high-tier to me at the time, but I have not really played Oblivion. It's never interested me. Civilization I have not played. Quake I have not played. Halo 3, I really was let down by this game. I mean, I think the multiplayer is solid, and there's certain maps that are a ton of fun. But the single-player campaign just has too much bullshit. Like, the fucking level where you keep getting slowed down to have Cortana scream at you. First of all, Cortana's dialogue is fucking terrible in this game. I just thought the story sucked, and, you know, it bogs you down too much. There's still fun levels. I just didn't end up playing through it the way I would Halo 1 and 2, you know, over and over again. So I think I'd have to put it, because the multiplayer is still really good, I think I'd put it at mid-tier. Ninja Gaiden Black I have not played. Mario Galaxy I have not played because I hated the Wii. Super Street Fighter 4. I think I'd put it at, well, I guess it's just regular Street Fighter 4, but we'll pretend it's accounting for every version of it. I gotta put it at high tier, right? I mean, it's a really fucking rock solid fighting game. I consider it to be kind of a gold standard. My friends used to play the living fuck out of this game. I always mained Cammy. Yeah, it's a game I would be down to play. Not as much as my friend. Man, maybe it's mid-tier for me, because I don't... Yeah, I have to put it at mid-tier just because if I was constructing this list with Soul Calibur 2 in it and Guilty Gear X2, those would be in high tier, and I definitely like those games more than Street Fighter 4. So, Street Fighter just doesn't have that much personality. It's just kind of like the generic fighting game, you know? Not that it's nearly as generic as some of the others that exist, but still, you know, out of the good ones, it is generic. Mario Galaxy 2 I have not played. Red Dead 2 I obviously haven't played since I couldn't make it through Red Dead 1. Grand Theft Auto 5, no interest. And Breath of the Wild I have not played because I bought it for the Wii U and then didn't actually put it in because I bought like a bunch of Wii U games at once. I didn't try to play it until like 2 or 3 months later, and the game didn't work. Like, I bought it used and it was fucked up and it was just too late to return it. So that was a waste of $40. Don't do that, kids. If you buy a used game, try it immediately and then take it back if it doesn't work. Not that you can always find out that quickly, you know, if the disc is scratched in an unplayable way. Just don't trust GameStop. Well, anyway, yeah, there you go. Out of the games that everybody loves, I have played about half of them, if that, and my favorites are these up here, which are all in my top 9 or so, top 10, you know. I can't believe there's no fucking Souls games on the top 60 games on Metacritic. What is going on here? Like, any of those other than 2 would be in my god tier. But, c'est la vie. Let's move on. K-On! Tier list maker. This is real easy. Alright. Well, Ritsu is an S tier. Yui is an S tier. Mugi is an A tier. Azunyan is A tier. Ui. Is she A or B? I think I gotta put her in A tier, right? Yeah. Mio. Yeah, she can go in A tier as well. Nodoka-chan, B tier. Sawa-chan Sensei. I find her annoying most of the time. So C tier, and poor June is going in D tier. But, you know, don't think I've ever met anybody who said that she is their favorite K-On! Girl, you know. So there you go. That was quick and easy. Anime Reboots tier list maker. This is just an interesting concept for a tier list. Obviously not particularly long, but there's a category just for Berserk at the bottom, so we'll just put it where it goes. Thinking of Devilman Crybaby as a reboot is interesting, because, like, Devilman has been reincarnated into so many different forms. Like, I just think of it as another Devilman, but it is closer to the original than a lot of the others. I'd put it in A tier. It was a fucking great show. I was very hype about it when I watched it. On retrospect, especially with Econ talking about it and kind of pointing out some of its flaws, and then, like, me thinking back and realizing how much of it I didn't really remember that well, I ultimately have to shift it down to A tier, but I still enjoyed it quite a bit. I have not seen this Doraemon reboot. Dororo, I've only seen the first 2 episodes. It's hard for me to judge. What I've seen so far, it would probably be an A or a B, but we're just going to say haven't seen. It's not even over yet. Hard to judge. The end of Evangelion is not a reboot. It is literally just the last 2 episodes of Evangelion. Now, if this was the rebuild of Evangelion, that might actually make sense to put in the list, and that would be very hard to judge, because the first one is basically just the show again. It's just a little less good than the show, but not by much. The second one is a very interesting movie. I would probably put that one in the A tier based on the last time I saw it, which is a long time ago. And the third movie is dog shit. But this is the end of Evangelion, which is not a reboot. So we're just going to put it in S tier because that's where End of Evangelion belongs. But it's not a reboot. FMA Brotherhood goes in the A tier. Really great show. You know, there are certain disadvantages that it has in comparison to the original, but they do not obviate the fact that the original show is much worse, just because of the story. The Fruits Basket remake, once again, I've only seen the first 2 episodes. It is still airing. Kind of hard to judge. So far, I'd probably put it at a B. I've enjoyed it, but, you know, I can't really say I've seen it. Gatchaman Crowds. This is another one that's interesting to think of as a reboot because, I mean, even less so than Devilman does it really have any relationship to the original Gatchaman. I mean, this is just kind of something that, you know, what's it called? Tatsunoko does is that they reincarnate their properties every so often. I guess you could call that a reboot. I like Gatchaman Crowds. I never finished the first season, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'd probably put it at a B. Hellsing Ultimate, I've still only seen the first episode of, but it is a lot better than the original Hellsing. There's aesthetic advantages and disadvantages to both, but like as a fan of the manga, which I also have never finished, the ultimate version just comes way closer to capturing the tone and feel of the manga, and it's got really badass animation. Still though, I'd mark it as haven't seen. Hunter x Hunter 2011, I'm going to put in the S tier, and I appreciate, even though I haven't watched the original show, people have shown me a lot of screen caps and shit from it. It looks amazing. Like, the original show is visually superior to the 2011 version, but the fact that it doesn't adapt the Chimera Ant arc, which is my favorite arc, is a huge thing, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, okay, here's the thing. JoJo had 2 OVAs in the 90s, one adapting the Phantom Blood arc, one adapting the Stardust Crusaders arc, but, extremely truncated. And I have not seen any of the Phantom Blood one. I've seen just the last couple episodes of Stardust Crusaders because they were directed by Satoshi Kon, and those episodes are pretty good. I have read I've read Phantom Blood, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. When the anime came out, I watched the first 3 episodes, but they were so heavily censored that I decided to wait until the show came out on DVD before I would continue. And I had been really into it. Like, at the time, those 3 episodes, I was like, wow, this show really went out of its way to try to make the visuals reflect the, insanity of how the manga looks. I've tried to go back and watch the original season again. It looks like dick. It animates very poorly. It's lots of characters just standing still. Ugly visual filters placed on everything. I really don't think it looks good at all. And I would just rather read the manga. And then I found out that the Phantom Blood arc is only 8 episodes in the anime. Because people were always shitting on the first arc, and I didn't understand. Because the first arc is 5 volumes long, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. So when I kept seeing people shit on it, I was like, why? And then I realized, oh, it's because in the anime, they just cut most of it out. And I don't really know why, because I thought it was good. I've seen most of Stardust Crusaders, and I enjoyed it enough. I thought it was good. It was a good time. It looks a lot better than the first arc, and the 5th arc, for that matter. The 4th one looks really good. I only watched a few episodes of it, and just wasn't that... I just, the way that JoJo feels in anime... it just isn't quite the same. And I prefer the feel of the manga, so I would rather just read the manga. So I would say that I would put this in C tier. And it's nothing to knock on JoJo. I like JoJo. But I don't think it's a good anime adaptation as compared to just reading the manga. This Kino's Journey one I have not seen. I heard it wasn't good. Osomatsu-san, I only watched the first episode. I thought it was okay. Nothing about what I've seen from later episodes has made me think I would enjoy it, but I'll probably give it a shot eventually. What in the hell is this? Sailor Moon? Oh, Sailor Moon Crystal. I had watched the first episode of this and just wasn't that interested. It kind of looked like ass. There was a lot of criticism about the visuals initially, but I heard that it got evened out later. I don't really know. I'm just going to mark it as haven't seen. I assume this is the 2015 Fate Stay Night show. Didn't watch it. Ushio and Tora, I only watched the first couple episodes of. Just going to say not seen. And Yozakura Quartet, I assume this is the OVA. Or maybe the newer series. Because there was originally a series made by Brains Base that just kind of sucked and nobody cared. And then for some reason it got rebooted with Ryo Timo leading it, and I don't know if he was directing, but he was doing a ton of animation. I can't remember who directed it, but it was a bunch of WebGen Sakuga guys, and there's all this amazing animation from the OVAs, and the show looks incredible. I watched 4 episodes of it. just couldn't get into the story and characters, which is a confusing mess. Like, it's really hard to follow, but it looks great. So I think I'd have to put it at C tier, just from, the 4 episodes or so I saw. Yeah. Well, there you go. Reboots. Haven't seen most of them. All right. This is a big fuck one.